Should Persona have adults in the future of the franchise? I wanted to talk about it today because I have been enjoying actually having some good discussions on YouTube and Twitter lately, X whatever. And I saw this pop up on my feed the other day and I wanted to just talk about it and see what the community kind of felt about the topic. So it started off with someone saying, why are people insistent on Persona but with adults instead of admitting that they aged out of the series? So I said, all right, let's actually discuss this in your general feelings about adult cast Persona. And I'm actually surprised at the variety of responses. And it took a lot to read all of them, but I did. Y'all really like talking about this stuff. Let's start off on the more negative side of the spectrum where people are like, adults are boring, why would you ever do this kind of feel. Persona is a game about finding out who and what you are, and people usually start doing that in their high school years. Giving personas to people who already figured out their life doesn't make for an interesting story. This is such a great place to start because I find it really depressing that people think that people stop growing after high school. Honestly, there were a lot of people that were similar to feelings in this camp, but I have found from my own personal experiences and observing my friends as well as they have grown through their adult years, people grow more in their adult years than they do in. I feel like high school is a time where you're more affected by the people around you and that shape who you are. But like, as far as like self-discovery goes, I have accomplished way more of that in my adult years. Usually self-discovery and really analyzing yourself comes in your later stages of life. I feel like teenaging, you're growing so much in other ways that looking at yourself, I actually find to be a very unrealistic take. I remember being like 16 years old and questioning why my mom tried to convince me that man should be with woman. And I was like, why? I didn't really have a brain for myself until I went to college later, actually, and like got separated from my family, created distance. Actually, one of the main problems I not only have with Persona, but like how anime depicts high school in general is that I always found it to be unrealistic that these people can grow so much with self-discovery at the age of like 16 to 17. I didn't even know how to make my own thoughts because I was still spewing the things that my mom was trying to teach me at the time. But yeah, long story short, I think that you grow more as an adult than you do as a teenager in terms of self-discovery. No teenager is built to fight the moon god and figure out everything that's wrong in life and fight it head on. No one seems to bring up the other angle that this is way more unrealistic to do as a teenager. The whole concept of Persona is accepting who you are, and like, yeah, you could do that with an adult cast, but you can't tell me that teenagers don't fit that theme a lot more. You build relationships and learn about yourself. A college setting would be better than high school, in my honest opinion. Yeah, I agree that college would be a better setting than high school for this type of like realism to how real life actually works with self-discovery. But yeah, I definitely don't think that teenagers fit the theme more. I think they could do it so Persona characters from past games can come back as adults like they did with the old games, a mixed cast of adults with kids. Because Persona is about self-discovery, your inner self, I think that works best as teens. All adults won't work as good in my opinion. Same thoughts as before. I also think that whenever you get to your adult years, you grow out of that like clique mindset too that you're surrounded by in high school settings. And then once you're out of that environment, sometimes with family too, so this can include family, this can include friends, but once you escape that kind of life and you become an adult, you go more on your own, you're able to discover yourself a lot more effectively, I'll say. That's it for the category of like those kinds of tweets. There were a surprising amount of them that thought that like adults are like just kind of boring, which I find honestly to be a very pessimistic way to look at life. Next, we're going to talk about all the people that think it's a great way to change how the concept of the Persona series is told through storytelling. I think that one of the issues the series currently has is that it retreads a lot of the same grounds over and over again. Switching things up by having the main cast be adults or mostly adults would be a great way of switching things up in my opinion. It has a lot of potential. Completely agree. It does have a lot of potential. I would like it for the sake of relatability, and I think it has the potential to take the story in new and interesting directions. But so much of Persona, at least the ones I've played, feel like supernatural coming-of-age stories, and there's a certain charm and nostalgia there. I love the use of the term supernatural coming-of-age stories because, yes, it is supernatural. I like connecting to some of the characters, especially, y'all know how much I connected to Akechi in Persona 5. Like, his story resonated a lot with me in my younger years whenever I was a teenager, which is why I just was so obsessed whenever you can find that sense of relatability. And you can find that sense of relatability in any stage of your life, no matter how old you are. Personally, I'd prefer having an adult cast of characters, mostly due to the fact that it'd be something different and a nice change of pace from teenagers every game. Also because I think adults are generally more interesting characters than teenagers most of the time. I'm glad someone agrees with me that adults are way more interesting than teenagers. I'm for it. There are plenty of struggles in adulthood that would work great for character arcs, whether it be jobs, keeping up relationships, or feeling like you've run out of time when you're like 30 something. Teen cast still works. It's really up to the writing's execution. And at the end of the day, I completely agree. I personally think the high school setting is fine. Like if Persona 6 is in a high school setting with teenagers again, I'm honestly not going to care. What matters at the end of the day is that it's a good story with good writing, with characters that I love and can relate to, and executed well altogether. That's all I'm really looking for. This is all like a moot point for me personally. I just like hearing people's thoughts on what adult characters could possibly bring to the franchise. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be adults only, but I think we could do some serious damage to your life ends after high school in both Japan and other countries if they allowed more exploration of being allowed to have a journey of self-realization beyond high school years. Yeah, this makes me beg more questions as to like, heard that really in my life. I only have ever heard that your life begins after high school. To me, at its core, Persona is about making peace with yourself. That's what separates it from SMT. An adult cast wouldn't change what stories they can tell. I feel like being strongly against an adult cast is a dog whistle for either wanting escapism or just being stubborn. Yeah, I would agree definitely with that. I think trying to force the notion that only adolescence fits with the ideas of the series is pretty dull. There's a lot of story potential for a young adult cast. Debatably, even more so if the society structure from 5 is present. That society affects adults more than kids. Yes, it does. Like Persona 5, I actually feel like would benefit a lot more from being a young adult cast. I completely agree. Because yeah, like I said before, I find it to be very unrealistic how these teenagers are dealing with these very real criminal things in the adult world. The next category of tweets we're going to talk about is the people that say Persona is defined by high schoolers. Yeah, that's a weird one. I never thought I'd be reading that. But here's what some people had to say. The high school settings exemplifies Persona at this point, and taking it away would just feel silly. It would feel absurd for adults to have that much free time in Japan, of all places. I say let the kids have their wish fulfillment fantasy games. Let's read a couple more before I make a comment, because it'll probably apply to a lot of tweets. I think the idea of adults would be interesting. However, I don't think it'd make a fun game or still feel Persona-esque. Trying to not to look at this through Western lens and knowing the work grind of Japan, I can't imagine the free time to pursue side activities like Persona 3 and Persona 4. I feel like the high school cast is kind of integral to Persona as a series. Persona games are meant to be coming-of-age stories. It's about self-exploration and discovery. I'm not necessarily opposed to an adult cast, but I definitely think the story would be less impactful. The high school setting, to me, is Persona. There can definitely be adult party members, but the main cast should always prominently be high schoolers. Even if the school mechanic is removed, like the first 3 games, they should be high schoolers. So these tweets were very interesting to read because it's a take that I never thought I would read. I guess people don't understand like the concept of Persona. It does not revolve around high schoolers, which I like that Atlas also recently have talked about with metaphor being a thing now, because metaphor and Persona are going to be polar opposites conceptually what these games are meant to be. So like Persona is all about your inner self. Does not matter how old you are. They just choose to tell those stories sometimes through the lens of teenagers. But the concept has always been self-discovery, fighting your inner shadows, and having that affect the world around you. Whereas the concept of the Metaphor series, which is coming out later this year, is the complete opposite. It is how outside forces affect your inner self, not the other way around. So I like that these concepts are polar opposites, and I'm really excited for what Metaphor is going to bring. But to the point, Persona conceptually is not anything defined by age, so I don't understand a lot of the arguments here because that's not really what it's about. I do understand the arguments with like how Japanese life is for adults. However, I still think that's a very narrow lens to look at for storytelling. I think it's a very like closed-minded way of looking at it. Because again, 1, this is fantasy, and 2, Why does it have to stick to Japan too? Because it definitely does not. The next category of people are people that say high school has been done too much and we're tired of it. Honestly, the thing is the high school settings have been done to death. I'd love for them to go to college or even straight up young working adults settings so that we could get different themes, character dramas. And here's another one. Personally, I think the high school setting has been done to death and has already gotten stale at this point. A college setting I feel would work a whole lot better and give more opportunities for character arcs and character archetypes. As much as I agree that high school settings have been like done to death, there are so many different ways to tell a story, but also I think we all just need to realize that that's like 90% of anime out there. And I think that people just go through phases like I do. I went through an anime phase. I was watching anime so heavily for like 7 years until I graduated college. And then there was a time where I just didn't watch anime for 2 years entirely because I just got really tired of it after a while. But then I recently got back into anime. These past 2 years, I've been watching so much anime again out of nowhere. I think we all just have these phases. All right, here is my favorite category of people. The people who are quite literally like, meh. Because of how the games are substructured with the daily routine, I think that high school protagonists are fine. It could work with adults, but I think it would have a different flow. With that said, give me a sequel of any Persona game with an adult cast and I'll be happy. Meh, I love it. I'm cool either way so long as I'm enjoying the story and gameplay. Meh, I love it. I don't mind the high school agent setting. P4 does that really well and it's charming to see. Adult characters could be good given P2 and the P5 ones and the spin-offs are good. I'm open to it, but I don't require it. Meh, I like it. I don't care either way. I love Persona how it is, but I won't be mad if they change the formula a little to make the next one stand out. I trust Atlus to make good games. Yo, same, I trust Atlus to make good games too. Meh, I couldn't care less. Yes! As long as the story is great, I don't care if young or adults. Yeah! I'm Makoto Yuki, and I don't care. Literally just meh. I like this group of people. And then the people who brought up Persona 2 specifically, Eternal Punishment made me so happy. So for those of you that really don't think it can be done with a good story, you should really just check out Persona 2. Or I could just start a rumor right now and say Persona 2 is gonna come out in... Persona 2 is gonna come out in 3 years. You're welcome. Also, for the people that mentioned Persona 5 spin-offs, the additions of Toshiro and Zenkichi were amazing adult characters to have in our games. And they are just some of the examples of like how that can just be really good. But yeah, Persona 2 Eternal Punishment exists, everybody, and it's fantastic. And the last category of people that I wish I could say I was surprised was brought up a lot was the sexualization of characters. Whoa, you can just hear my enthusiasm on the topic. I'm not even going to read all of the tweets here. I'm just gonna put them here. You can pause and just give you a face to pause on while you read those if you want to. I don't recommend it though. But yeah, one person in particular had like a really good response to all of that. That can say it way better than what I would say. You aren't forced to romance anyone. If it makes you that uncomfortable, then just don't romance anyone. The dating element is a key part of the series. For many fans, removing that will kill the franchise. I don't think it's a franchise killer, but people do look forward to romance and dating. And again, this is a very relatable topic. We all have crushes in high school and feelings and romance. It's an integral part to growing up in life in general. Stop being weird about it. Like, what the fuck? And of course, I want to end the video with talking about some other tweets that stood out that didn't really fit in a specific category per se, but I thought really sparked some good conversation. From my friend Queen, considering how dark some of the themes can get in the series, I'd be really interested to see the usual style of human condition writing, but through the maturity and depth of older, more experienced characters. Maybe even some been there, done that attitude or bitterness, which Persona 2 actually does have a little bit of that in the storytelling, which I really, really love so much. And I think it's just such a powerful message that that game gives off. What they really need to do is a Persona entry that follows the It movie template. The first half with the characters as school-aged kids or teens, and then shift to the future where they're all adults. I think this could work so well for the franchise. I guess the only example we really have of that is like Persona 4 to Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, where you have like the older characters. It's really nice to play a game and get attached to these characters that you really, really love, and then getting to see them grow up and see how that affects them in life. It's not going to be the most interesting of games, in my opinion, because they already had their character arcs, but maybe their journey of how them as adults can affect a younger generation at that point. A bit late, but I feel like they very often try to tie the characters together being high school classmates or clubs. I think that they could make more compelling, relatable, and diverse characters if they really wanted, using more adult relationships or themes. Completely agree. I think the concepts that they could come up with are very, very exciting because being an adult, in my opinion, is very, very exciting. I honestly don't mind it. I'm fine with either way. I would rather wish a similar writing to Persona 3 where the characters have more than just one arc. I do agree with this. One thing I would wish for the future of the franchise that Persona 3 does that Persona 4 and 5 don't do is their secondary awakenings happening within the main story of the plot rather than through social links. I think that that just hits so much harder whenever it's through the main story and not optional side content. Persona 4 characters, in my opinion, are some of the best writing, actually. Like, I love Persona 3 characters and how their stories are written within the overarching story. That is done masterfully, but like Persona 4, I think is a really good example of characters having their arc, but also staying consistent, relevant, and fun throughout the dynamic of the cast. I want Sega Atlus to bamboozle us with a Persona game with all adult cast and a Yakuza game with all high schooler casts. Please, oh my god, I cannot believe I'm reading this. I don't even want to imagine Yakuza with teenagers. Hello, it's about criminal underworld? It would be fun to have a cast with more adults. I don't agree when people say it wouldn't work or doesn't make sense because many adults in P5 feel like they could have fit right in. Absolutely. I also think if the idea of not getting adults bothers you, maybe you've outgrown the series. What I think it's more of, like I mentioned before, is phases. Like, people go through phases. Sometimes people will go through an anime phase. Sometimes you grow out of it and then you come back like I did. Like, there was a time where I was in a phase of like, I just didn't even want to look at Persona. And that happened for like a good year, that like all of last year, I'll be honest. I just got very tired. And then recently I just had like this resurgence in me, like, I am so ready. So I wouldn't say you necessarily grow out of it because I think that there's a sense of relatability that comes from all of these stories that don't really pertain to age. You can be reading a story about a teenager as like a 60-year-old, but you're gonna be nostalgic and you're gonna remember yourself as a teenager and how those feelings were. So I think that it doesn't really have relevance to like growing out of it. I don't really think that that's a thing. I want an adult to yell Persona, but throw out their back, making them unusable for the rest of the night's adventure. Oh god, my aching back! But the Persona is like super kick-ass and stuff. That actually be actually hilarious. I'm not bothered if they change it or not, but I'm also under the impression that the formula works really well. So why change it? Yeah, no. Every game that has come out has been ahead of its time in terms of JRPG. You can't just keep the same formula because that's exactly what's going to make the series die over time. You always need to grow, you always need to evolve, you always need to change your formula because if you keep it the same, not only will your sales drop, but some other company is going to come out of the woodworks and beat you. Definitely always have to change the formula, always have to look on improving and innovating especially, or else no one will care about Persona. People will just go to a different JRPG series. I want elementary school cast. Persona 2 was adult enough. If people want change, this is the way to go. No. I'm just gonna assume that this is joking because holy shit, elementary school kids, they're so annoying. I'm so sorry. My niece is gonna watch this in the future when she's in elementary school. She loves watching my videos and she's gonna be like, oh my god, Aunt Crystal hates me. I feel like elementary, middle school age is one of the most annoying phases of a teenage life. I think adolescence is a good tool window for the limited psychology the series wants to cover, but I think adults like Zenkichi and Katsuya only enhance this by reflecting their younger peers. I think having another mixed age cast would be the best course of action. You can. I think that a full mixed age cast might get awkward in terms of some things when people are like at completely different stages of life. It can be weird, but like, I don't know, if you can write it well, sure, make it work. But I love Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, man, and they are all adults and it is great. All right, and that is the discussion video. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about all of this. I'm interested to see what you guys think, but at the end of the day, my opinion and stance on this is like, I trust Atlus to make a good game. I know I'm gonna like anything they pretty much do with Persona titles, I should clarify. Some things are misses, like soul hackers. But anyway, I trust them to make a good game no matter what the end outcome is for whatever Persona 6 is. I'm probably gonna love it, and I have full faith that I'm going to love it. And I'm very excited about whatever new information we're gonna get in the near future. I'm probably gonna do my normal thing, watch the first trailer of Persona 6, and then not watch anything related to Persona 6 after that. Thank you guys for the really good discussions. And remember, if you want to be in future discussion videos, Twitter, I'm over there. You should follow me over there. And then you can join into these discussion videos. But until the next one, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!